Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to another edition of Infection Podcast. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on X at Nicholas M. Craig. Check out my new day job, I should say. It's the Carolina Journal News Hour. Just do a search for that on YouTube. However, this show cannot be done alone. Joining me as always, it's Brian with an eye Aldridge. What's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Hopefully everybody's doing good. If you want to find me, of course, you can find me at Boise Computer on X and at Brian Aldridge on other places. So we've had quite an eventful, has it been only a week since we were last on?
Yes, it has been. It's been a lot of stuff's going on in a week.
There's a lot of stuff happened in the last week. They had a hurricane, and luckily Nick has not been affected by that a huge amount. He's still in his house and able to do the show, so that's good. But there's been some things going back and forth with Godot and PH from our Discord.
What is Godot? Before we get
Godot
into this.
is a game engine. So this is more of an open source. It's a free and open source 2D/3D game engine. I'd have to look at the history of it as far as when it started, but it's got a fair amount of, they're at the 4.3 version. It's got a fair amount of support. Some games are actually being made on it. That's one thing is you'll have game engines people make, and if another person can't make a game, only the person who made it usually makes a game on it. So
Godot's been around for some time. It really rose to popularity, and we talked about this. I don't remember if it was. I think it was maybe last week. We talked about when Unity earlier this year came out with their new pricing structure. It pissed everybody on the internet off, and a lot of folks said that they were moving to something like Godot, Godot, also pronounced as Godot. It's Godot is how it's pronounced. A lot of folks said, we're going there. It's open source. To hell with Unity, to hell with Unreal. We want an open source equivalent. We spent some time on last week's show talking about how, yes, there are pros and cons of using something that is open source versus not, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, the timeline, the ease of use. There's a variety of factors. There's no right or wrong answer as to whether you should use Godot, you should use Unreal, you should use Unity. It really just depends on your level of skill and what you're really trying to accomplish. So because so many folks were pissed at Unity, Godot saw a huge blurb in popularity because, well, they didn't want to use Unreal because it's essentially the same thing. It's a licensed product. Rates and all that stuff can change at any given time. So a lot of folks went to this open source alternative, but there's some controversy this week.
So they had, well, I'm going to find, I don't know if you can find, there is the community manager for Godot who...
Nat?
Yes, Nat, who's very political. I mean, can you pull up their profile so we can see, the type of, I mean, for the people who've listened to our show for a while, when we say community manager, here's a pretty generic community manager. This is generically what they look like and all the things they put on their profile. So this
what about hold on for our audience listeners, Brian, let's do the right thing here.
Well, do you want to read?
Their name is Nat, N-A-T. I assume that's short for Natalie. Which I know is a controversial take these days. In her name is also she/them, and then a knife emoji and a broccoli emoji. Now, Brian, I'm a young man. I'm 27. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I have any idea to know what that means. She also describes herself as obnoxiously queer, which is always a huge win. Nobody loves anything more than having somebody's sexuality shoved down your throat. So, obnoxious queer, content creator, she/they, knife and broccoli. But as you note, Brian, this is pretty on brand for what we see from community managers all across the industry.
Yeah, and this is kind of this is the normal for us. So, they went on a blocking spree on X because of politics and things like that. And they ended up blocking one of their titanium backers. And a titanium backer, I went and looked up so that's someone who donates at least 50 pounds a month.
So it's a sizable amount of money. I mean, that's not
someone who cares
small
and is
chunk
paying,
of change.
Yeah, paying for something that they support. And so they replied, I have been blocked. Guess what? I'm a titanium level backer for the Godot fund. Guess what my next move is? And then someone after that, the backer, then after that said, focus on the engine and not politics. So that kind of started off some of this controversy, and there's been a lot of things happening in their Discord and everything else. So here's an example of the community. There's a place where they brought up some of the things that have been happening in the community. And so months ago, this is a tweet from somebody in that community. Months ago, members from the Godot engine community reached out to me looking for a safe place to relate with other members of the community. They complained that they were getting banned for ridiculous things like saying guys, which is supposedly not gender neutral. And then they've had screenshots where they back this up. Says, for instance, because they said, thank you guys. And then there was a huge discussion afterwards, just for saying thank you guys at the end.
Guys as in a plural of individuals, not necessarily a group of men. It's I mean, and I see based at least on this Nat individual, the community manager, she's not from the U.S., so I don't know if in the around the rest of the world, if the term guys is used as much as it is here in the US. So maybe a little bit of a translation issue. I would assume not, but I'll try and give a little bit of a benefit of the doubt for folks that are maybe outside the United States. But even if you said,
hey fellas, what's up? Is that a hate crime to say, hey fellas? I mean, because we don't think of fellas is generally a generic term for a group of people, right?
See, nowadays. I disagree with you a little bit.
It is a masculine term, right? But we don't go and say, hey, there's some, but we do tend to put it for a male, right? There's a fella over there. So but guys, look at those guys. Is that always a male when they say, look at those guys?
No, I would refer, and I have referred to my groups of friends as fellas before. I don't know that I have never referred to, I mean, maybe I have, but I don't usually refer to a group of guys and girls, men and women, as fellas. I would say guys in that case.
Yeah,
that's
the
typically
most,
how people
like the most
use
generic term I can, other than humanoids or yeah, they them
reptilians, shapeshifters. What are you guys doing? Oh, I said guys. Damn it. What's happening over there?
And so this is just something that I'm thinking, I'm hoping will make more communities that have community managers more cautious of the type of people they bring in to represent their groups. Because this is a perfect example. People that are like this have flocked to the community manager position because then they can try to control what you say, which in turn they're hoping will control what you think. That's the ultimate goal of all this. And so they're going to sit here and talk and rule if they have any sort of authority with that mindset. And here, this person wants to push their personal agenda on this community because all this queer agenda is purely, it should have nothing to do with that game engine, right? It should have nothing to do with the programming community.
Disagree.
But they're bringing it in and now enforcing their gay community rules on this programming community that should have nothing to do with the gay community, as far as, just like it should have nothing to do with any specific other group. Like you're making a game engine, you're a community of programmers and enthusiasts. What's that have to do with being gay?
Well, it's got everything to do with being gay, Brian, because if this company cared about their standing, their community manager says, to her credit, in her bio, she says obnoxiously queer. I mean, she's not beating around the bush as to how she's going to interact and talk with people. She says obnoxious. I'm going to step out on a limb, Brian, and say most of the time, like 99% of the time when you describe something as obnoxious, that's typically not something people want. Like you're being obnoxious. You're talking over me. You're being obnoxious about this. For the most part, typically the term obnoxious is not used in the positive light. So I'm not surprised that this is going on. In the slightest, she says it right. It's the third thing in her Twitter bio.
Well, so I want to read So Grums has a picture of her Twitter bio, and then here's his take. Godot community manager creates huge crisis for open source game engines. So this is kind of his wrap up. What started off as a virtual signaling with multiple rainbow flags and naming the engine Wokedot or Wokot, I don't know, has turned into a media disaster, and the CEO desperately trying to calm devs. The community manager went on a huge blocking spree for innocuous questions and mild criticisms, including myself yesterday for pointing out that virtual signaling is poor marketing move in the current game climate. This is why you never hire rainbow activists to represent you.
But it's funny because the only people that are in these, a lot of the people, as you noted at the top,
a high percentage of the ones that we have encountered, right? Because I mean, we can speak from our perspective.
Yep.
I don't know if there's other, ones that we don't see, but the public ones, the majority of the ones that we worked with towards the end ended up being more of this demographic. And especially look at PAX. I mean, when we commented on it, to enter the PAX arena, you had to walk through the gay room, right? It was a room where they tried
the LGBTQ lounge, I believe, is what it was called.
Yeah, it was the lounge. But the problem is, it was a recruitment center. If you look at how they had it set up, they were recruiting people for various gay things, right? And so you're sending kids. This is a video game convention. You're sending kids through a gay recruitment center to enter your convention, and you say to me that's normal everyday behavior. That's something we should just say is normal. Gay, you're saying this is a video game convention. We're putting a gay recruitment room that everyone has to go through to be able to enter the convention. Why? In any normal set, like if it wasn't there and you went to a board that wasn't run by a bunch of people with that mindset and you tried to kick this idea to them, and let's say instead of a gay one, we said we want to put in hunting enthusiasts room where people can recruit people for promoting hunting and things like that. They would say, well, why would we put that there? That makes no sense. It makes no sense putting a gay room at the entrance of a video gaming convention center, just as much as a hunting promoting room at the beginning of a video game convention center. People have gotten so far away from reality on this that seems normal to them now. That's where that's like the normal we're working with.
I'm trying to find a
picture of that.
I thought we took a
picture.
Yeah. Good luck. I won't be able to find it right now, but I was trying to just find an expo hall map and see if I could find it. But my searches are not helping me, unfortunately. So, but
yeah, I mean they're there.
They are. Your point is well taken. And, it's the reality of this industry just feels the need to talk about politics. And I have said it 1,000 times, and Brian, I'll say it until we stop doing this show. I go to video games for the same reason that I go to sports. It is a break from reality. It is something that I want to relax and enjoy my time with. And I have, for a vast majority of the time that we have been doing this show, I have worked in politics, whether that be on the radio, which is what I've done for years and now back doing, or involved in local things. I'm as political as they get. Brian, I might call myself obnoxiously political. Well, I would never say that because it would be beyond stupid to put that in my Twitter bio, but an outsider would probably describe that.
Right?
I am as engaged. I'm in the 1% of 1% of people. I don't want politics, regardless of what they are, whether they're right wing or left wing, in my sports and in my video games, because I'm in that damn headspace 24/7. I just want a break so I can sit down on a Sunday afternoon and watch 8 freaking hours of football and do nothing and not have politics shoved down my damn throat. And for whatever reason, the video game industry feels the need to take their radical views and opinions, because that's what they are. The vast majority of the American and American population, scrapping out the rest of the world, the vast majority of the American population does not subscribe to the same ideals that these companies push. Yet they feel so empowered because they're in their own. It's no different than the news industry. It's a little echo chamber of individuals. It's a huge circle jerk of these individuals that all believe, feel, think the exact same thing. And God forbid you have a difference of opinion. God forbid you say something like, hey guys, thanks for the help. These people fly off the freaking handle because they're so mentally ill and they're so fragile. I mean, that's the long and short of it.
Yeah. Now here's some interesting, I'm reading some of the back and forth that's been coming from this interaction with this person. So, Godot COC is only for interaction. So there's two people talking. Godot. Go right back to Godot. Godot COC is only for interactions with the project and for project social media channels. If you behave properly, you should not be banned no matter what your political bias is. Nobody has been instructed to ban people for who they follow or what they post in public. Sure, if you go and register in the forums and in your bio you write that your gender is attack helicopter, or if you make any harassment or discrimination, that would be instant ban, but that is your pinned message and should be unrelated. And it says, as explained, I have not interacted with Godot or been informed of why my action occurred. I'm not on the Godot Discord, the forum, or any other Godot community related to Godot, and I don't use the tool. I hope you can see why this surprises me and others. So they went and found somewhere where this guy said something and where they banned him on Twitter for something he said somewhere not even related to them, just because he didn't like them. I mean, it's just like super sensitive.
Yeah, this is from the same group of people that are always talking about tolerance and open ideas and understanding, right? We have to call them, we have to refer to them as a dear person because that's how they interact and that's how they want to be known, right? We have to be so open with these individuals, yet somebody, again, literally having an opinion. I mean, that's what this all boils down to. The heinous act of having an opinion on something that some obnoxious queer, self-described community manager on Twitter disagrees with is enough for you to get tossed to the side of the road. It's a really sad state of affairs.
And here's someone who put a response to a tweet they had done. So here was Godot had said, apparently game engines are woke now. Well, then we won't complain. They put a rainbow flag, show us your woke.game below. And somebody put, I will still like and use Godot, even if half the regular devs working on it were to be woke, because it's an amazing community project full of people that are amazing backgrounds, different backgrounds. But I think it just creates division and not unity to say stuff like this. Let's make games, not war. And then he put a smiley face and a video game controller. And then they hid his reply on there, and they put, you were hidden because being woke is to have basic decency and respect for others. And then they go off on that. And then they reply, but you're not being respectful when you start to censor others just because they don't share the same opinion you do. By that logic, being woke is toxic positivity, where you force people to comply or be excluded. You become what you preach against. So
bingo.
This has been the back and forth stuff like this. This is a community that they created, and now you can't even go in and make a comment about the community without them, banning you, censoring you. There he was hiding it so people couldn't see what he said, which is the same as a block, pretty much, right? So I don't know. This is Godot in 2024.
It's the entire freaking industry, though. That's really the sad situation in it all. This is the entire video game industry.
But the thing is, they've probably been integrated so much with people that have this aggressive mentality who don't take anything else for an answer. And they probably run out a majority of the people that have a more, I don't know, a normal way of thinking or more even way of thinking. And run off all those people to where now the majority of what you have left are people that think like this. And then they feel like they have the right to come in and do and say these things.
Well, and here's part of the other issue, and I don't fault people for this, but part of the other issue is that as you describe normal minded individuals or individuals that would describe themselves center right or even right on issues, they're not going to engage in this stuff because it's just a waste of their time. So the only feedback that is received is from these individuals that have the exact same political identity, right? Because conservatives they're really good at one thing, and that one thing is self-censoring. I mean, they are magical at keeping their mouth shut for fear for retaliation. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs that's the society that we live in, but self-censorship is unfortunately something that if you're actively involved in politics and have a different opinion from those on the left, that you have to partake in, because it's just not worth getting in arguments and back and forths with people all the time over nonsense. So they don't engage, and it's this feedback loop of left-wing insanity that is the only thing that these individuals are reacting with, I guess.
Yeah. And my biggest hope for this is this becomes an example, because I'm hoping what they'll do.
Did they fire the community manager?
I haven't heard that yet.
Okay. Well, then there's no example's going to be made.
Well, but enough people leaving, but it's an open source project, so there's not a quick way for them to determine whether or not there was an impact, right?
Sure.
Other than them losing support from donators, that's going to be a quick way. But it's not like they have sales or something that they're doing. They're taking donations, so they've got to look at their donations and decide: have we had a drop in donations since this occurred? Is it enough for us to make a change to try to win some of those people back? Because their concern is if they then reverse this, then they're going to piss off the other half, and then they're going to lose the other half of the donators, and possibly the original set aren't going to come back. So it's like they're kind of in a situation where they're trying to figure out the best way to move forward. But I really, let's see, Godot community manager.
I've been having an issue with Twitter the last couple days where it won't load media files or attachments. I don't know what's going on with that. So it looks like they put something out on they did. I mean, this is the status of Twitter loading on my computer. I'm currently streaming.
I bet you. I wonder if it has something to do with the hurricane and the internet. And
I'm not sure.
You're probably limited on some pipes coming into your
I'm not, though, because I'm streaming at 6 megabits to Twitch, and it's not an issue. I mean, the connection is rock solid. Okay, so there's something here.
All right,
let me read through this.
Okay, so I went and looked at them. Sorry, they, Nat, Murder Veggie, as they go by. That's why they have the
Murder Veggie.
Murder Veggie, that's their name. And they have pretty much made their whole profile private.
Oh, typical.
I can't see anything. These posts are protected, and I can't see anything other than the information on the top.
So on Monday, the Godot Foundation, which is the group that is behind Godot, released this statement. Mm-hmm. On Friday, we made a tweet that unexpectedly, of course, not their fault, unexpectedly led to a wave of harassment directed at our staff and community. We unequivocally condemn this abuse. The volume of negative engagement overwhelmed our moderation efforts. While attempting to protect the Godot community, we mistakenly blocked individuals who were not participating in this harassment. The Godot Foundation Board takes full responsibility for these moderation actions. If you believe you were blocked in error and have not violated our code of conduct, please contact us with the form linked below. We are committed to swiftly rectifying any mistakes. We firmly stand by our mission to keep our community safe spaces free from hate, discrimination, and other toxic behaviors. Meanwhile, this is now not from their statement. Meanwhile, we will enact toxic and discrimination-based behaviors against individuals that we disagree with.
And isn't it great? You have a community manager that can't actually post anything from their account. Their posts are all private unless you're a follower that they approve. And so if this person goes and posts anything or comments right on somebody's post, will they be able to see it? I mean, I assume maybe comments they can see places, but you can't go to their page and see information that they talk about Godot, because I can't see anything on her page. That's their community manager. Content creation is their passion, right? but there's no content on their page.
Yeah.
Great person. All right. So, you find moving on to something else? Because there's another thing I think you might find. Okay, we got two choices. Fntastic. You remember those guys from the day before?
Yes, of course.
They're back. We could talk about them, or there's been a lot of things with like with the buy once things. We could talk about that as well. Do you have a preference?
Let's do the day before. Let's start with that.
All right. So they are starting a new Kickstarter to develop a new game, and this was the group that made the day before. They had a Kickstarter. Ended up that what they put out or were trying to put out wasn't anything like what they promised, and pretty much shut the whole game down like within a week or the day after.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally it was literally it released, and the day after they went out of
the day
business.
Before, and then the day after. Yeah. And so
yes.
And so they so that was happening on there. So now they have a new post on X, and I'll put this tweet in the links too. I didn't put that on there. And here is what they said. Everyone deserves a second chance. We deeply apologize to everyone for the day before and take full responsibility for what happened here. There's your tweet. All right. For what happened. Check out our plan, Fntastic 2.0, where we share how we'll fix our past mistakes and are preparing for return better. So they have on their website their plan.
Build back better, baby. That's what I'm all about.
I mean,
here.
It's a PDF.
Okay, let's take
so you gotta love.
Oh God, what the hell? What the hell kind of graphic design is this? This looks awful.
Yeah,
I mean, this. Who the hell's gonna read a 7-page PDF?
I know. I talk about not so. I know.
But they got their branding in here. I mean, what the hell? What is this? This is like an internal document. Why is
they could have? They could have made this like 2 pages. Everything is big font. Make it 2 pages. Honestly,
this is like me trying to do a 5-page college paper when it's really only about 3.5 pages of content. This is exactly what I'd be doing. 100%.
This is 1 paragraph stretched.
Yeah. Hey man, you got to do what you got to do. All right.
So here's the new Fntastic. I assume that's Fntastic. Maybe it's Fntastic. Fntastic 2.0 principles. And so they're starting out with honesty. And now, so this is something they didn't have before, because they're saying from now on. So you got to say, for honesty before was not a thing. From now on, our development and marketing will be based on the principles of honesty. So if they're bracing now on honesty, what did they base all of their principles on before? Not honesty.
Lying and deception.
Yeah, which is kind of funny. They're very fully coming out and say, well, now we're going to be honest. We were honest before, but we're going to be honest this time. So we commit to building trust within our community through direct and honest communication. We commit to openly communicating the challenges we face without concealing any detail. All aspects of our marketing will remain clear, transparent, and free from embellishments. Well, that's good, right? That's actually legitimate. If they can pull that off, that's what people would expect. That's honest behavior. Transparency, we understand the mistakes and absence of past communications. We commit to ensuring transparency in development and openly providing honest and comprehensive information. So we'll actively engage in the community on our platforms, particularly Discord, to ensure everyone is informed and involved. We provide regular development progress reports to keep the community updated at every stage of our work. Before the critical release of any product, we will offer free open betas for early testing to gather feedback and ensure the highest quality. Because that's something, if people would have seen what they were providing, they would have yelled something much earlier.
Well, but I'm going to stop you right there before you get to professionalism, because that's one of the big issues with these games, especially the ones that you fund well before there's anything playable. There's no way to say independently verify like this is some sort of Watergate style thing, but there's no way to independently verify that what videos and little screenshots here and there that make their way onto Discord or Twitter, that those are actually representative of the game. I mean, you can take a still image of a game and it looks great, and that screenshot does look great, But if none of the mechanics work, if the game doesn't function the way that it's supposed to, I mean, that's the kind of the issue with games that don't have this, and it wouldn't even call it a beta. This would be an alpha before you even get into that don't have something that's playable. That's what you run into. And that's why back when we started this show, you had games like H1Z, when you had games like Ark and Rust and all of these early access games, but they were all playable. Like, you weren't just, and Brian, you made this mistake probably more than anybody, is you see these cool projects on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you give them a couple of bucks, and not only do you never get the product, if you do get the product, it's nothing like that versus a game like Ark that was, I don't know, did they do any crowdfunding? I don't remember. I remember just buying Ark and playing it. I don't know that there ever was an early, I know H1Z1 didn't have that. There was no, now that's different. That was a major company making that game. But a lot of these new projects don't come out until far after when you commit to making money. And that's a real problem because it allows the situation like we had with the day before, where the game comes out, it's 10% of what it's supposed to be, and then the company's out of business the next day and you can't play it. I mean, that's literally the timeline.
And that's the thing, is you end up having nothing, and it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? Because I have plenty of projects that went nowhere, and you're stuck with it, right? And so I think that this is going to be the new not accepting past things, because it pretty much killed a lot of that industry. We were watching when we first started the podcast, everybody was doing Kickstarters, everybody was putting out these videos and saying, look at the cool things we could do, all this concept art, and everybody was jumping on. And then a year or two later, enough of those didn't deliver, because it took a while for people to realize that they weren't going to deliver. I mean, we had a number of them that kept putting out update notes and, we're going to do this. Oh, we made this mistake. Oh, this didn't go how we expected. Normal things that companies deal with, and now then the project never ends up getting released. So I think here, if they can maintain something like this, honesty is they're saying that their new way of working, I think that should be the normal. It's weird that they have to commit to be honest.
Well,
right?
Of course they have no choice now, because nobody in their right mind would give them a penny until
they might as well made a new
product.
name. I don't know why they're even going. Why not just start over? Have someone who wasn't on any of the paperwork form the LLC or whatever you're going to do.
Because it's Fntastic.
They think that they got a name brand or something. I don't know.
So what's professionalism, Brian?
So then professionalism. We are transitioning from a volunteer-driven approach to one firmly rooted in professionalism. Our objective is to gather industry professionals and specialists and improve our existing employee skills. We will continuously raise all standards and practices, aspiring to become the company that earns your trust and admiration. And I understand where they're coming from, because I managed a project like this for a while, just kind of working on some of these things, and it's hard with volunteers to find people because the people that are volunteering are learning for the most part. If someone's doing this as a job, a day job in the industry, most of the times they won't volunteer. Now, I had some volunteers that were incredibly good, especially like one level designer that was really amazing, right? He could do all kinds of things. They are out there, but the average person who's signing up just wants to see your game. They want to have their name on the credits, but when it comes down to it of actually putting in the work, they usually don't have the abilities or skills to do it. And that's the volunteer-driven approach. If it was something where like a open source project where someone could submit something, you could then review the quality of it. But game development's different. Like you have to give them all of your code. You can't do it like an open source project and give them everything, or else you won't have a game to sell. Sure. Everyone will take out everything you have. And there's been a lot of, I know there are some people saying that this is another asset flip.
So can we look at the trailer?
Yeah. So is it on that one post, or do we need it?
It's on their website. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah. If you want to pull it from there.
It's called Escape Factory. That's the name of the game. And I've got the trailer pulled up. So let's take a look. So Fall Guys.
Yeah, it's like Fall Guys, but you're controlling. I mean,
it's
multiplayer. Is it competitive?
Four to 8 players.
Like Fall Guys.
Yeah, this looks exhilarating.
It looks a lot like. It looks a lot like Fall Guys.
Just in space.
So it's got to be one player.
No, it's 4 to 8 players.
And so you have to have 4 players. You're not doing it. So these are. So here's one person controlling what, 3 or 4 people. Was that what's happening, or is that?
I have no.
Are these all one person? Because they're all stacked. How'd they get all stacked on top of each other?
They probably just jumped on. It says it's a physics-based multiplayer co-op escape game.
Now, so that is a prototype. Looks good, right? I mean, that looks like a prototype. This group is going to come in and say, yeah, it's an open beta. They're saying that it's discovered to be an asset flip by data miners, supposedly.
Okay.
They dug in, and I'll pull up here. Let's see on X. So it looks like Fntastic's AQ deleted my posts on the Steam forums about the assets they stuffed into Escape Factory. Luckily, I stashed a copy of on the Wayback Machine. Here's the archive thread. So now people are getting pissed if you use any marketplace assets, and I don't agree with that.
No, I think that's ridiculous.
The marketplace is there for people, and sure, if you end up being something that blows up big, they didn't do it with what was that one game, PUBG, right? Mm-hmm. He bought the asset, and nobody could buy that asset without thinking there's the PUBG thing, right?
Medical.
If you're going to do that, then go to the asset person and buy them out. You can do that, right? If you become big enough to where they can't sell it without it being known, and you don't want people knowing, being able to just have the exact same version because legally they can, then go to the author, and I bet you could probably work on something to either have them make you a custom version for a large, reasonable amount of money. But if you've made it big and everybody knows your game for that object, then you should be able to afford at that point to have a custom one made, like they should have done in PUBG a long time before if they ever did. I'm surprised they kept it that way, and it may still be there. But I don't mind them. They keep showing like here, there's asset flips. But when you're testing physics and you don't have your levels generated yet, a lava map, if it works and they can create and after they release, they can create more and more maps. Like these people are saying the map is the game. That's not it. And some of the FX, why should they have to create all their own FX? Like what? They can customize them, but those are just pre-made templates, right?
Yeah, I think even the first thing here, the network code, the core of the game's networking, lobby, and matchmaking is all a Unity demo code.
Yeah,
so
and
why the hell would you
taking that demo code and improving it, right? Even
if you're not improving it, if somebody's already written, if Unity has already written netcode, why the hell would you rewrite netcode?
Because netcode's hard.
But for what reason? Right. It already works. Why would you rewrite netcode? That's like saying,
Unity is going to put out a really good version.
You bought a Windows computer and you didn't write your own TCP/IP drivers?
Yeah,
what a scumbag.
What an idiot. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not let Intel do that? Because they're only making all of the NICs in all the computers. You should write your own driver for your network adapter. That makes a whole hell of a lot of sense.
Game engine and had that one game where you lived through various lives. Like, you had a baby and then you lived that baby. Remember that guy who wrote his own game engine?
Oh,
little booth
I have the
there.
video. What was it called?
Yeah. I don't remember, but it was something about like civilizations of you would live through a life. Yeah. And then he wrote it from scratch. And you really limit yourself.
1 hour to live.
I mean, imagine 1 hour to live. Imagine how much shorter his time of making that game would have been if he wouldn't have written the whole engine from scratch.
Yeah. Right. He was a tall guy too. You're tall, Brian. He was really towering. He's towering over you. Huh.
I mean, it looked like a fun little game. He looked like a personal challenge to himself.
Yeah. We didn't grab any B-roll. No. If we ever go back.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
just kidding. We're never going back. We'll just go hang out in Vegas. The hell with the trade shows. Yeah, I'm not I can't really buy into like they use the third person controller asset from the Unity store. Again, like, who cares?
Okay.
That's
the thing is, when you're prototyping and creating a game concept, you're going to pull in things to make it easier at the beginning. Then when you're going to the polish stage later, you can go through and rewrite some of that code, because guess what? It's code. It's not static. These assets can be replaced. They're going to make a working game and try to going as good as possible. And then if they see a problem, they'll clean it up. But these aren't game developers that have been working the industry for 20 years. These are people trying to break into it and make a game. They made a huge mistake the first time by not communicating and they should have been making a game the first time. And I don't know that they're ready to make a game this time too, unless they bring in professionals and do what they actually say they're going to do. Because that's what it's going to take. Bringing in people who've done this before to help guide the people that haven't done it before through the process. And they're the people that haven't done it before.
Exactly. And it's unfortunate, but and I'm not trying to dog this company, but their campaign has not seemingly gone very well thus far. There's 44 backers. It has 23 days to go, and they've raised a whopping $2,300. Their goals, it's converted because they're not based in the U.S. They're based in Singapore. But it's about $16,000 is what they're looking for. Let's look what the comments are. Okay.
Can't read that one.
No, I'm not going to read that one. Guys, you've been exposed already. I sincerely suggest you give up now before the situation gets even more ridiculous. I downloaded and played your beta, hoping you people were going to change for the best. I wanted to give you a second chance, but no. Asset flip again. Next time, please develop a decent game made all by yourself. I'm really looking forward to giving you a second chance, but for now,
which I don't agree with 100%.
And then I don't agree with it either. And they
so here they said the networking code based Unity is not used in the game. The lava map is also not used in the project. Space Shape FX is imported, has not been used in the game. So they brought it in, but they didn't end up using it. So it's just kind of bloat in their project right now. Third person controller isn't used either. We've written all controls manually. As for Unity VFX, yes, we have VFX for explosions, which is completely within purchase licenses, and we see nothing wrong with that. Which I agree. I mean, why should they have to pay someone to make all of their explosions from scratch?
But see, the thing is, it like this gatekeeping now over assets defeats the entire purpose of engines like Unity and Unreal. The whole reason that you use these engines is because these assets are available and you don't have to spend your time as a developer writing netcode or controller code and actually work on building the game. Because me as an end user, me as a gamer, that's what I care about is the game, not the back-end code that causes when I press A on the controller to jump in game. That's just a waste. There's no reason for that.
Yep. And so I think with this, they're being overly critical, but they've opened themselves up to that by not changing their name, coming back and saying, "Hey, we're Fntastic," or whatever it is. So I'm hoping that it sounds like they're trying to do it professionally this time. Maybe they had a person in charge, or maybe they had a group of, someone there that was not good at decision making and led them down some of these paths. And maybe they feel like now that person's gone, who knows, there may be some logic behind this, that they feel like they're approaching it correctly this time. But the concept that they put out to me looks fun. I mean, as far as if that's the kind of game you like to play, if you like Fall Guys type of a game, if they can get the levels and everything, but they're trying to compete against a pretty big game. Why not come up with a totally unique game? Right,
no,
you're making almost a clone, right? Don't you think that's kind of, they make it? It looks very much like a clone. Of course, there's not a lot in that space. You could say, the second BR made would be a clone, and that they shouldn't have done that. Maybe this space will grow and become something even better because it kind of started out from that Among Us, right? As far as people running around and doing this, and then it went to Fall Guys and now maybe we're going to see a progression of more of that physics-based gaming that is more challenging and less of like Fall Guys just kind of running and bumbling around and hoping you're first.
Yeah, but that game is very popular, and I don't see any issue with.
There might be a huge community of people who play that are willing to play a variation of it, right? Because if there's only one, people can get tired of the same levels over and over again. Turn around and make something that gives them variation in the space, because there's not very many games like this, and some of the physics ones are incredibly hard, like that one where getting over it, things like that. Like some of them are kind of fun to play for a little bit, but it's not one, unless you're a person who loves challenging themselves, it's not a game you're going to play every day.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to support it. Obviously, it's not even the kind of game that I enjoy. They are always going to be haunted by their past failures, as in some cases they should be. Now, do I also believe in second chances? Yes. And so for their sake, hopefully they can raise enough money through this project to get something up and out. And if it's successful and it's fun and people enjoy it, then I hope it goes well. If not, if it's just a heaping pile of trash, then the company will have failed once again, and that will probably be the end of them.
Exactly. And we've got 4 minutes left. I did want to mention we mentioned PUBG. So Project Artemis, remember when we mentioned Project Artemis a long time ago? It was like a picture of some foliage or something like that. He has now said that his massive new open world game is like building a holodeck where players can create whatever experience they want. And this is kind of what I was.
Brandon? Is this like the guy that started PUBG?
Remember what I said a long time ago? When I said what I wanted out of a game, when we were kind of getting frustrated with some of these games in Fortnite, and I wanted one where you could pretty much create a game,
Gary's
something
mod.
like Arma, Gary's mod, a new Arma, something where you could create like what he did, various game prototypes in a more simple thing. Because that prototype, for example, that Fntastic or whatever they are created, they had to do a lot of programming to get there. You could create almost an identical game if you just created a platform where it's all physics based and people could create their own things, and that sounds like more like what this Project Artemis is going to be, as far as an Arma style, creating your own games and situations. We've seen very, very little, but it's supposed to be a huge map. So what they did is they turned it into an Earth scale map. And so it's a map that's supposedly it's the size. It's the size of the Earth. Is it a circle? It'd be interesting to see, but it's supposed to be
flat.
Gigantic. Is it flat? Okay,
yeah, it's flat.
Well, I guess I should have learned. That's the internet has told me. And so they did that, and then he said it. He also so he took over the and this is green. Took over the aspect of creating the worlds, and so he's been doing that, and he says it's supposed to be really awesome. Is there a date on here of when this is supposed to be?
No, there's not.
I was trying to see if there's a date on here. I'm not seeing one, and I'm not seeing like a website for it, which is kind of frustrating.
Not a website either.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was hoping to get a little more information, but this is going to be, I assume it's going to be a lot like Arma, because that's where he got his start. That's where the whole Battle Royale thing started. And I think that'll be a better way than Kickstarter for people coming up with game concepts. Because if you have a platform like this, and that's why I bring this up, if you have a platform like this where you can create game variations, then you wouldn't need all of these Kickstarters, because people could come up with game concept. And if you gave them enough power in there to create game modes, they could create the game mode without all the extra work. And then if it's fun enough, then put the work in to create the game standalone game. And that's what they used to do with Arma. But then people stopped doing it because Arma became so old. And what was the alternative? Now we have Fortnite editor, which seems to be they just added the ability to do first person modes, and you can make game modes just like Call of Duty now in Fortnite. And it looks and feels a lot like Call of Duty. So Fortnite's doing it. They're creating something for making games. Now we've got Brandon doing the same thing here. And so, maybe we're going to get back since Kickstarter's not working, get back into the world where people are making these game prototypes again in a free product like this, or a one-time paid product like this. Because I think we got a lot more out of Arma than the base game of Arma, what it provided in just gameplay. We had a lot of game modes and various games that came out of Arma. And so I think that we're now in a point where Arma's newer versions don't seem to be as flexible, or they're not advanced enough for what people want, because they don't compete with the games that people are playing. But I think he could probably, there's something under Unreal Engine that's built well, that has a highly polished version of things for implementing mods to it, then you can create almost anything. People, and kind of like what Arc tried to do. And I'm hoping that's where this is going. Because if it is, then we'll start seeing cool games again, and it won't all be these Kickstarter people worrying about assets and all this stuff and knocking down games. Because sometimes I think games get knocked down that don't deserve it. People that are truly trying to make something cool, and then everybody comes in and says, well, someone else came in and said something similar, you must be a horrible person. Okay. We're never going to get a lot of these new concepts. And look at how hard it was for that group to try to put out a game concept.
Yeah.
Right.
Very, very
and
tough.
They end up having to change it how many times and ended up being a totally different game. They should, if they could have had something to flush out their game concept and come up with the gameplay first, verify that it works and it's fun, and then create it. That's a much better plan. But how do you do that? Kickstarter was supposed to do that, but then people quit putting out you weren't actually beta testing. They were just saying, well, you'll eventually get it. You'll get a prototype, once we get 30 days left of the project. And that just doesn't work for game development, and you're not going to get those really cool gameplays. So that's kind of a rant, but I see hope. And my hope is through Unreal Engine, using their creator, and then maybe, something like this, that we actually have a place where people who don't know how to make a game can go in, but have a desire, can go in and learn how to do it. Because if you can go in and do things in the Unreal Fortnite editor, you can go make games in regular Unreal, because they're not that different. There's just a bunch of things kind of pre-done for you.
Sure.
That, you could go and figure out yourself once you get good at it. So, but yeah, well, I'll keep an eye out for that. But he's been talking about it. It's a huge map. I haven't seen much more about it, but I am, I'm kind of waiting for this. So I'd like to see it, because this is the thing. I feel like this is what I asked for, and hopefully he delivers something that's close to what I was thinking. So,
and what I say to that, Brian, is you can expect it soon. TM.
Yeah, TM.
Exactly.
Yeah. And especially when all they put out is a single animated video that doesn't show anything. This is the only thing they've shown so far.
But see, and I'll just say this before we get out of here. The difference, track record is a big thing.
Yep.
Folks know Brandon Green. They know the success of PUBG. Did it have its issues at the start? Absolutely. It was a mess just like every other game. But there is a level of trust and faith, and I can almost guarantee you, and maybe I'm wrong, that this is not going to be some sort of Kickstarter that is supposed to be out next year and then gets delayed 2 or 3 years. That's probably not going to happen, is my gut reaction to it.
Yeah. And I wouldn't think so. And Brandon he has a track record of actually delivering. And I think he's probably not wanting to show anybody, because he doesn't want to fall into the pitfalls of these other guys. Second you show somebody something, they'll start nitpicking it and trying to find any way to discredit your whole project. And the temperament of the internet nowadays has created that, where people are scared to show anything, because you show one little bit, and like you saw with them and the Fntastic guys, they jump on every little detail, and according to Fntastic, most of those points were all wrong, right? It was somebody making baseless accusations, because I didn't go look at the code. I can't, really say, but according to them, those things didn't even exist, right? Yeah. I mean, so this is what you're fighting against in 2024 on the internet, trying to do something that's unique and different.
But to that person's credit, while I don't agree with what they were saying, the outrage that they had, Fnatic in that case, deserves to have a microscope placed on them.
Oh, yeah.
Because of their previous actions.
And it's good that they were able to answer every question. Right?
And it is.
Addressed every point.
But they can't be pissed that people are highly skeptical of them. I mean, you've lost that privilege when you ran the scam that you guys did last time. So that's the side of it that
definitely an uphill battle. But just like that one, what's that space game you'll never play?
Elite Dangerous? No Man's Sky.
No, No Man's Sky. That one with enough persistence, that guy saved his reputation. They could do it, but look, it's taken him years to get a game out that he can say, "Hey, look, I did it. You guys can't talk smack about this. This is an awesome game, and it's well known and very famous." Right?
Exactly.
He overcame it,
popular.
and if he would have walked away from it at that point in time, he would have destroyed his whole reputation in developing video games, and probably would never been a leader of a major project again.
Now he will. Assessment.
I think that's what these guys are hoping for. That exact replay of the situation. So, all right, are we good to go? Ready to roll on out of here?
I think so.
All right. If you want to find me, you can find me at Boise Computer on X, or you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Gab, Getter, Truth Social, other places. If you want to go to my blog, biteoftech.com, and of course our website, infectionpodcast.com. If you go there, you can join us on Discord. It's a great place to put different news topics. Is there something you think you can add to the story or something you think we're missing? Go ahead and put a link in our show news channel. Review that for the live show. Also, we got 11 ARC servers running, so you can go check out any of those different maps, community that plays on that. And if you want to submit or ask questions or get hold of anybody, perfect place. If you want to watch the live show, you can do that through Twitch or YouTube, or the upload to Rumble after the fact. We also upload our podcast forms to all the different locations after the show is done. So pick whatever platform or service is most convenient for you. And while you're listening to that, you can go to our show notes page, and there's a video and audio player built into that page, and also links for all the things that we discussed. So it's perfect if you're going to listen. There's a listen on there, and then you can click on the various links and go check it all out. So if you want to support us, you can go to the support menu option up top, or you can go to infectionpodcast.com/support.
Brian, my friend, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
Alrighty, folks, thanks for joining us. As Brian mentioned, you can head on over to our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. You can follow me over on X at Nicholas M. Craig. Search for the Carolina Journal News Hour on YouTube. That's my new daily gig, and keep up to date over there. If you missed any portion of today's program, again, don't forget our website. It's infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.